The Ministry of Primary Industries and the Department of Conservation are raising awareness of HPAI, also known as bird flu, targeting people on lifestyle blocks, city dwellers with backyard properties, bird fanciers, rare breed keepers, and even those that just keep little pet birds. The H5N1 strain of the disease has been spreading around the world since it emerged in 2020. Earlier this year, it was detected on the Antarctic Peninsula. And unlike traditional forms, this strain, as I mentioned, has adapted to wildlife and has affected more than 500 bird species and 60 species of mammals. The government agency states thoroughly cooked poultry and eggs will be safe to consume, even if the virus hits New Zealand, as avian influenza is sensitive to heat treatment. The Ministry of Health, Health New Zealand, poultry industry, all contributing in preparation work, along with the Egg Producers Federation that says they are concerned New Zealand has been free of major poultry diseases, but we must prepare for this tremendous risk to our industry. Biosecurity Minister Andrew Hoggard is encouraging us all to take steps to be ready for the possibility of the arrival of bird flu, and he joins me now. Andrew, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Andrew, what is the real risks of avian flu coming to our shores? I mean, we've never had a case here, have we?
No, we haven't. The risk is, as mentioned in the intro, Leah, it's on the other side of Antarctica. So basically it had moved from Asia into the Americas and then down through North America into South America, and then migratory birds took it across, from South America to Antarctica. So the potential exists that that same pathway could go to the other side of Antarctica and then up our subantarctic islands and obviously to New Zealand, or you could get it coming down from Asia into Australia and then across the Tasman. And this is a pathway we can't control. We don't have border processing for migratory birds. We're not checking their luggage or anything like that. So it's not something we have the ability to stop. So it's vital that we are just prepared.
And Andrew, what would it mean? I mean, obviously, I know this would be a great, tremendous risk to our industry. But what are we talking when we say a risk to our industry?
Oh, look, if people were to do nothing and poultry farms and owners were to not take precautionary measures, and bird flu was to get into whether it's your backyard chickens or your huge poultry shed, it has a huge death rate amongst birds. Effectively that population will most likely be completely killed. And so that's why it's so important to maintain good biosecurity and protective measures. For anyone out there that's a fan of Clarkson's farm, if you recall back to the first season when he was having his chickens and the alert came out and he had to lock them up in the shed, that's the sort of thing you're going to have to do to keep them safe.
Oh, I see. So even those people that just keep a few chooks in the backyard, what would you say they should be doing?
So the key thing there is to make sure that they don't have access to wild birds. So I guess I can use my own backyard for this example. We've got high fences that stop them flying, well, they can't fly out over the fence, but there's nothing covering the top. So there's birds that could fly in and have some of their meal, and those wild birds could bring in the disease. So one of my many summer jobs when Parliament rises is going to be putting a roof over, a cover over the top of our chicken shed or our sort of chicken run, and making sure that it won't infect our birds. And the other thing is, if you've got pools of standing water that might be near where your chickens are, these are sort of the environments that wild birds will like to come to, and so of course that's areas they could bring the disease to. So just thinking about the surroundings and how you can best sort of manage the surroundings of where your birds are kept. There's really good advice on the MPI website. It details a lot of information for not only backyard but poultry, and also veterinarians and a whole range of different scenarios.
All right. So I gather you've been working closely or talking to MPI and the egg industry or the poultry industry?
Yes, yep. So this has been work that's been going on over the last year of trying to get we are getting an agreement in terms of what needs to happen response-wise, particularly detail and operational plan, close to having that tidied away, and that'll sort of set out here's what we're going to do, here are going to be how MPI will help, and how we'll respond initially, and these are the actions that will occur. I think it's important for a lot of people in the poultry industry to be aware, once it gets here, whilst there may be government support initially, it will become endemic, and it's effectively this is going to be a part of business. This is going to be a future business risk that you will just have to manage. So whilst government support might be around for the initial stages, it's not going to be an ongoing thing, because it's something we are going to have to transition to, of how do we live with this disease that will come in and out of the wildlife areas at various times.
Yeah. Is it true there could be a vaccine, Andrew? A doc undertaking vaccination trials?
Yes, we are. DOC are undertaking vaccination trials on birds in captivity, so some of our native species, particularly endangered ones, just to test, immune response rates, and that's probably, as much as we all love KFC, we also love our native bird life, and so it's going to be really important to protect all those native species. Now, obviously, there's not a lot we can do with the ones in the wild, but we can certainly, if it was to arrive, we can certainly provide vaccination for those ones we've got in the various captive breeding programs and sanctuaries like here in Wellington at New Zealandia and Mount Bruce, places like that, to be able to, at least keep a number of those sort of populations safe from it. It's early work, and nothing's proven yet, but certainly working on that to just provide another option for us to how we can keep our native species safe.
Because you did mention, how can we stop, it coming in? Because we've got, someone has asked, could you ask Mr. Hoggard what the risk from migrating mutton birds are? Because, the shearwater bird, they migrate long distances, huge distances. So we've got these birds that do migrate and come back.
Yeah.
That's probably something, like you said, we can't stop, or we just have to wait and see what happens when they come back.
Yeah, well, depends. Some species are more susceptible to picking it up than others. So particularly, if you think about species that like to nest in big, thick colonies, particularly some of your seabird species, they're probably more at risk of bringing it in. But the team, we've got people down in Antarctica that have got testing kits there. They're keeping an eye on it. If they've seen dead birds, they are having samples brought back here to New Zealand for testing. And we've also the same in the sub-Antarctic islands with the DOC staff there. So, my hope would be those two places are kind of like a bit of a tripwire, as it were, to alert us that actually this is on the move. Can't rule out that a bird wouldn't be able to make that whole big long jump in one hit, but in all likelihood we'll probably we'll see something first on our side of Antarctica and then in the sub-Antarctic, which is hopefully be able to provide us warning to start getting things really prepared.